All right. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Well, we are now in February, and I currently have a cold. And yeah, so let's get right into it. So, of course, I start getting flooded with texts. So, what a crazy time. And you know what? I may be sick right now, but I'm real sick of paying high prices for crypto and seeing the froth continuing in these markets. Clearly, we are still a long way from real value and this recent flash crash, whatever you want to call it, really nowhere near the bloodbath that needs to ensue. I've been saying this for a long time. I did post a Twitter post of what we were doing, a little bit of spoiling the event here. Half Nexa, half Warthog. So that's taking up all our CPUs and half our GPUs. The other half of the GPUs are on Nexa because you are still fairly competitive if you ignore the electricity costs and are seeking the longer duration bet to mine and originate Nexa. GeoNet continues to bolster the balance sheet. And although we had an upper end of the range month in overall gross accumulation and mining, we really only got back to where we were. Again, our portfolio peaked December 4th of 2024. And ever since then, again, we are underperforming Bitcoin, or the index, if you will, by about 200% in terms of overall appreciation, maintaining our 90% compound annual growth rate of total enterprise value, which is amazing. Again, that comp is only going to get harder and harder with each passing year. And a maintained, although slightly subdued, from 55 down to 50 flat at a couple basis points percent compound annual growth rate of our overall mined inventory. So we began making chunkier positions in hash rate designations for approximately 3 quarters ish to implement it, strategize, et cetera, and decide to not invest in any new equipment beyond that threshold, and then consolidate into bigger positions with unique algorithms, et cetera. And now we're at the point now where I am perfectly comfortable being so concentrated in 5 or 6 names. We are beginning to trim the fat. We are beginning to completely overhaul our outlook. And really, in terms of equipment, I think that the next piece of equipment will actually be a Monero X5 Bitmain unit at 1800 watts. The next A6 seems like a bit of a gamble because obviously Bitmain will inevitably release one. And basically 5 or 6 3070 Ti 6-card rigs is the equivalent of one of those next A6, but that is also 10 grand Canadian at 1900 watts. So is it doable? Yes, it certainly is. It truly is. you know, so, with this being said, where do we go from here? Well, the future is clearly ASICs, which are much more expensive and concentrated bets. So, Warthog, I don't see an ASIC. Obviously, we're good there. So, the 50% reduction in hash rate, especially due to the ZegX hack, the CoinX mishap, really, you can only even buy it on TradeOver. That's the way I like it. I want the people that are not structured properly, that don't have the money to resume and continue on at a loss, to go away. That is the best case scenario. Now, we continue to develop the technology side of things. We want to build things on top of blockchains, especially only on exclusively proof of work projects. So Warthog will have the token coming out shortly. That will be our fourth and last iteration. My favorite projects are Kaspa, Kadena, Warthog, and Nexo. So those four will always perpetually here going forward. The entire Trillion Capital mining portfolio is riding on those, because they are the only true, unique projects that are well capitalized, well funded, or equally in another direction, decentralized. So I have no problem with that. No problem saying that. Historically, again, our diversification efforts with GeoNet have literally floated us across the smoke on the water that has been the last 3 years. So say what you will, we're still mining, we're still operational, and we have chosen to expand in research and development and innovation. So the Trillion Carbon token on Kaspa, it's listed on the KSPR bot on Telegram. It's listed on Kaspa Piano, now Kaspa Com. We have the Kadena token listed on Maracas, and we continue to experiment and evolve the product offering. Now, again, we inscribed the Trillion Carbon parent wallet, which is separate from our mining wallet, of course, for privacy reasons. TrillionCapital.kas. So that's easy. And again, just small little improvements month over month, quarter over quarter are going to keep that innovation rolling. We did ratify a partnership with a clothing brand. And now we have a second one that is approximately 2 times to 3 times larger, depending on what metrics you want to value the business at. Again, no advertising, 45% sold, almost 50 now. So that's great. And in a few short months, mind you, hopefully within 3 quarters, all of it's gone, and the third iteration can be revealed and be much more refined, sophisticated, and advanced. So again, continuous, the work is never done, obviously. The 40 series, 50 series, our GPUs are now 2 series behind. And again, why would we upgrade? It doesn't seem the way to go. Again, hosted ASICs remains the focus, but again, capital deployment and CapEx remains in other ventures to continue to subsidize that operation. So, with that being said, again, our 2 other ventures, which remain private, unless, of course, you know what they are if you talk to me, are doing okay. One absolutely flying off the shelf, with the other a little bit of reduction in demand and whatever. But with the new tariffs coming in, that product should essentially have a 25% discount relative to any near-peer competitors on that front. So orders coming in there. There's actually a taxi company that is very interested in a bulk order. So again, new and exciting things, but happening at a slow pace. And again, the token and its distribution and its liquidity, whether it's the Kadena on Maracus, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, everybody knows I do most of the legwork, if not all of it. I do all of the financing in-house, essentially quasi through me as well. I don't have the hair of Jerome Powell, but we certainly serve the same functionality in backstopping the firm. So we do have various components such as taxes coming up and things like that. So again, in bulk order, et cetera, deals are, so we would like in that aspect, again, kind of private. I don't need to tell anyone that, but again, if you call me, I will. Not a big deal. Moving on from that, again, which we certainly should be able to meet those objectives fairly easily. We're already pretty much there. Now, accounts receivable is coming in, et cetera, so that's good. The challenge remains, if we were to go full ASIC, to supplement that revenue is exceptionally expensive. As everyone knows, the Kadena ASICs are pretty much our biggest concern in terms of funding, to not sell any at all. And again, not sell any GeoNet, but that again is an emergency button we've used once, and we could do it again if we had to. Perhaps certainly soon we may have to. So with that being said, we're doing okay. Again, independent, not talking, not listening to any noise. TSA ridership's out a new record since, it's eclipsed the 2019 peak, but subway ridership has not. So again, with the tax breaks coming, the share buybacks occurring, it's a very interesting time we're in. Of course, here in Canada, it's an absolute economic disaster. And our Cuba subsidiary remains functional, but not necessarily something that is doable. It would have to be really, it just doesn't make much sense when there's such better things to put your money into. Essentially, having Hawk hosting, or Terra hosting, sorry, or Coastal Crypto hosting our ASICs is much better and prudent strategy at this point. So that's probably what we're going to go with. And again, X5, KS5 Pro, and especially because they're only like $3,000 US now, and some type of next ASIC. That will be done. Those three will be done by the end of the year without a capital raise, simply from profits of normal so it's interesting. Again, nobody wants to talk about, I did actually see Mindsum 10 put a great post on the performance of the newer chipsets on Warthog, and again, the falling hash rate is certainly a falling knife to be captured by the compute. Really, electricity continues to go up, and the challenges are keep coming and coming, and there's no new coins, no new innovation, nothing coming out. In fact, the rally has largely missed entirely the entire proof of work space, and that's good. Continue to work on a proof of work ETF to be done on the CSE, Canadian Securities Exchange, but finding a syndicate of underwriters and a few other challenges remain and are elusive. Research clients continue to grow, continue to propel us into debt-free territory. Again, the most utilized token is, in fact, the Casper one. It's also the most advanced, most clear. So it's about 3% of the supply is gone. About 2% of the Nexa one's been chewed through. And again, the continued developers innovation remains on the CASPA network. So obviously not, again, anything to write home about, but there's no other proof of work change with that going on. It's absolutely fascinating. Again, Nexa is pretty much at all-time lows. I mean, you could get 600 million for $700. I mean, that is outstanding. The rich list continues to grow. The by the time the halving comes, over half's going to be already mined. I think that will be the inflection point. But again, speculation is for losers. So we will just go with the data. And right now, the data is saying it's on sale. So we have our Avalanche stake generating somewhere in the neighborhood of north of 7% right now. We bought Ondo, and that's USD yielding at about 4.72% currently. And we also have so AVA is the travel agency. And again, that's also a stock. I like Transat stock. I like Air Canada. I like Ava Labs. And again, yes, they're on Ethereum. But again, these are legitimate corporations. I think it's a great tool for diversification. It does generate a yield. And that's exactly the glide path we have set out. If I didn't delete the old YouTube channel, the old Discord, whatever, all this is time-stamped. All this was very out in the open. Then going from hardware to software was in the plans from the beginning. So as we go towards that, take our mined inventory and generate a yield on top of it in the cloud, tax sheltered, of course, due to their corporate structure, we continue to see that as the opportunities. Again, fixed supply, proof of stake with a good yield, or proof of work with a unique algorithm, obviously limited supply. That is the only pathway forward. It becomes redundant. It becomes repetitive. It becomes very tiring. And I like when mining's boring, unprofitable, extremely undervalued. That is the point. And what's funny is we remain at the same nominal dollar valuation, month over month over month over month. But we keep accumulating more and more and more coins and assets. So when that coin flips, no pun intended, at some point, most likely after a collapse, so governments can continue to justify wartime level spending and a lowering of interest rates. I think on the other side of that is the payday. And again, acquisitions, seller financed, or what have you with real estate pledges collateral remain on the radar. So again, this balancing act between subsidizing our growth of mining electricity costs with growth through acquisitions or through new ventures is becoming ever more complex and ever more difficult because we are racing against ourselves. We certainly aren't competing with anyone else. And so to keep that compound annual growth rate, I'm seeking to reduce risk, but increase income or stability and transparency and predictability of income streams. And again, oil not doing too good, right? So crypto as another commodity, probably going to follow oil as it seems to have done for a long time, at least the proof of work space. Now, again, the absolute destruction of miners and their capital continues. With CASPA at these levels, with Warthog and Nexa at like I said, these core allocations at these levels, I'm excited. I don't like the bull market when you have the influencers and you have the promo codes and the new hardware's coming out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That noise really is not favorable to a longer duration miners like us. So I'm now again happy. I have a smile on my face. And so this is where we're headed. Again, the authentication as a service, we've had 2 additional trial programs attempting to get a hold of whether it's Canada Goose, Moose Knuckle, Canadian retail companies, sending out some samples. It's all very intriguing, and it's very fun to me. Now, again, as our equipment ages, we're starting to have these breakdowns that we knew eventually would happen. FPGAs, oh my God. Well, by the way, that would be actually probably our only shift. We have the FPGAs on Unmineable, although it's an abysmal yield, getting paid out in Dynex, because I believe neuromorphic computing and quantum, again, I nailed the stocks, obviously, especially Rigetti. So taking those paydays and translating it into blockchain aspects, I think is good here. They got a good team, obviously. Europe's stock market is in the dumps. So, again, follows that that thesis. And so it's, again, exceptional acquiring levels here. So that's what we're doing. And essentially largely unchanged except for a couple more. Again, Trueflation was a dud. Able Labs down 30% since we got some. Ondo's held up fairly well. And then Avalanche, again, absolute crash. But again, we don't care because the yield is there. Not a big deal. So with, again, 50% of the network is staked. So again, the DMV in California, before they ban cars entirely, are going to be using their network as the storage basis for that. So that's a great thesis there. Again, Ondo is owned by a firm that you can look at yourself there, again, tied to the current administration. And I believe that's a good one. I did not come up with that one myself. That was given to me, but we did take it and run with it. So, again, storage is abysmal. Every sector is garbage. Crank is now 12% mined and created. We forfeited one entire month of a single KA3 Kadena ASIC, swapped the yield into Crank, which doubles our rewards for a year, similar to the GeoNet program about 2 years ago. And obviously that was a huge payday for us. So doing the same with Crank did stabilize the price. So clearly that financial engineering paid off for them. We'll see if it holds up. So far it was a good move. And we have the consensus node, looking forward to hopefully getting a Oracle node and really just riding out those 9 nodes right to the end. Helium, obviously horrible, right? So Crank, although not on an exchange, not really doing anything, still progressing onward, and it's good to see. So we'll ride that one out. And again, it's 90 some odd percent of network usage of Kadena. So it is essentially a subsidiary or dependent. So nothing wrong with that. And again, the big one, Planet Watch, relisting to Ambient, partner with KFC and Taco Bell, and all those parent companies and subsidiaries going to be having their air quality sensors there. And let's not forget the absolute destruction of investors and miners with Planet Watch. That guy with the dreadlocks, whatever his name is, again, avoiding any responsibility. Claudio's still on the team, scares me, but the bald guy that rides his speed bike around California, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He is, again, they acquired the project for $2 million US, I believe, and the network itself, including the infrastructure, the software, proprietary devices, licenses, everything. We calculated it to be well over 10x that, at least. So they got literally pennies on the dollar, absorbed the team, kept some of them, unfortunately. But again, looks like they're now doing the job on Solana. So that'll be great because you're getting essentially a reverse split payout on Solana on the Ambient Token Network. So we'll see what's great. But what's great is that we get that second shot downrange with this project. We did invest like 30 into sensors that are still mining and collecting out right now as we speak. So that's good. Again, WeatherXM, over halfway paid back for those networks, and the back pay really hasn't started. So again, sensors and DePIN outperforming. That seems to be the trend here, even for projects that we didn't even think WeatherXM was going to make it. Onique has not gone mainnet, but it's getting close. Headquartered in Switzerland, as they should be. And it'll be interesting to see if Geodet partners with them as well or absorbs them entirely. That would be excellent. We'll see what happens there. But the big Stanley Cup trophy is going to be the Wingbits mainnet listing this year. They got over 5 million euros in investment, partner with Geodet. I mean, just go to the website, just take a look. I mean, if you don't see how far that project's come and the connections they're in and the pathway forward for profitability and revenue generation, I mean, it's going to be explosive. We should be within the top 100 holders on day one. Now, going forward, okay, that sensor dependency doesn't really matter. It never has. Although it's a nice thought, we need to focus on the diversification efforts. And so, again, ASICs, the ultimate roll of the dice, the ultimate gamble. So for now, we chose to build on Kaspa and experiment within rather than to purchase the KSY Pro from Bitmain. But we will see. I think, again, if corporate credit is on our side, then we will certainly leverage the balance sheet for that growth. But again, you don't want to be taking a risk-adjusted return out of this world, right? And that's essentially what you're doing when you go with leverage on ASICs. Ooh, that's a dangerous game. So we want to So anyway, guys, if you have any question or anything, let me know. I don't even know who's watching. I don't know what's going on. And again, anyone who assumes is an outright idiot. So, but again, look at Warthog. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Bring it on. Hell yeah. So again, we're trying new things with older projects. You know, our legacy projects would be different than someone who's from previous cycles. Although we have delved into, Bitcoin Cash remains our strategic reserve for, I don't want to say dust, but smaller chunks, say Grin will convert into Bitcoin Cash of that. And really just maintaining and holding and continuing to lead the charge by staying online. So again, guys, the Plutos, again, call me, email me directly. We'll do private shipping. You can pay in crypto. Discounts are associated in a variety of different ways. Our affiliate program for sales, again, we want a salesman. We need sales in terms of we want a head of sales. Equity can certainly be discussed. And we also want developers to help. Maybe we just one or two, just like one or two salesmen is the other department where we want to expand the product offering for the authentication and for the token use cases to be used for it. So, because again, it's hard to as one person to do it all. So, again, the corporate landscapes continues to be more accepting of crypto. There's actually an Alberta-based bank that I find quite fascinating, and we should have an update on that soon. That actually supports crypto. So, again, we have options. We have interest from outside parties. There's always a demand for shares, although we are not party with any right now. And again, to go public on the CSE exchange after pending 2 or 3 acquisitions, Dan Pena style through Seller Financed, then we should be able to get there in the next 4 to 5 years. We have audited financials. We have little to no debt, at least zero interest-bearing debt. So we have a great team at the very top, corporate attorney, accountant, etc. Everything's top notch. We've really crossed our T's and dotted our I's this whole way through in uncharted territory, and we'll continue to work on the trench warfare of generating alpha on the yield side. And you get the algorithm right, you get the fundamentals right, miraculously, you get the prices right. And, I think we're headed obviously into a cyclical downturn in crypto. It's pretty evident. We'll see if it's going to reflect the global economy here. But again, the K-shaped recovery remains intact. So we want to best, again, fight the inflation, but also be prepared for a deflationary environment in the event of a 6 to 8 month collapse of markets. But right now, although it seems frothy, you never want to base that on just valuation alone. So we'll see again if the governments of the world again are switching from Democratic or liberal, depending on where you are, over to conservative and Republican, and actually serious about cutting deficits and oversized government spending. Well, with 31% of the Canadian population completely employed by the federal government, that's certainly not going to be good, as if Canada needed any more trouble. So positioning ourselves to generate US dollar revenue is obviously a key priority. Obviously, there are some complexities associated with that. Need I not remind anybody who knows why that is a problem? But we will get there. We will cross that bridge, and we will remain online, remain solvent, remain in a growth-oriented approach. And if anyone would like to partner, sell, etc., or purchase the Trillion tokens again, or the Plutos clothing, feel free to reach out. We need as much partners as we can get, and the door is always open. I don't sleep. All I do is work. So we don't take weekends off. That's an inside joke. If you saw the company we were talking to the other day, you say that to me, I mean, sorry, low performance people are gone. What's next? You're going to take Christmas off like a loser? Well, I assume that's what they're going to do. So we're not. At least I'm not. So again, thank you to everybody. Due to housing insurance costs, I now need to smoke outside. So I'm going to go do that, guys, and thank you for everybody. And again, research is available, right? We have the crypto research product, equity portfolio construction, obviously primarily focused on Canadian investors. And we have the mining, again, for ourselves, as well as the Pluto's clothing brand recently acquired, and the other two ventures, which I will keep private, which are, again, open if you are in Canada and hyper localized to some degree. So, with that being said, continue to mine, continue to remain online, continue to grow. And again, our strategy has been duplicated or duplicatable the entire way through. I have been extremely transparent. I have been extremely accurate in the good, the bad, and the ugly. And again, you need to consolidate. If you have a friend here, there, and everywhere, you need to consolidate your operations. You need to have documents drawn up, corporate entities filed, because at some point you're not going to be able to do this nearly as easily. And again, especially in Canada, you have the advantage of lower electricity costs, lower regulation, and the ability to have this unique corporate structure. So again, if you don't do it, you're going to die. If you don't pull the trigger, you stagnate, and then you die. So let's make sure that Trillion doesn't remain the only person online here, because it seems like this AI scam is continuing to protrude out of the cemetery grounds where it belongs, and it's capital intensive. It doesn't produce extra revenue. Now it's an additional service these companies must provide. And that's not to say that we don't use it. Again, Globe. I highly encourage everybody to look at Globe. I think everyone will find that extremely fascinating. So it's a great AI tool, much better than the Twitter Grok that I was using previously in its basic form. So again, AI is a tool. It's a productivity increase, as Jay Van Sciver from Hedgeye says, and I steal the quote. It is a productivity increaser, it's not a productivity replacement. So again, just have that in mind. So use it to your advantage, conduct better research, continue to thrive. And what we're going to do is continue to document our wins, our failures, to the best of our ability. And again, no one else has this transparency, and nobody else. Apparently nobody loses. So anyway, my hair will not grow back at these prices, but hopefully altcoins do have their day in the light sooner than later. And yeah. Now, one thing before I go is again, one thing is that again, as we go quarter over quarter rather than month over month in terms of strategy changes and everything else, that should indicate hello. Who that is. But that should indicate in terms of the pace of innovation that crypto's having. The Moore's Law in terms of innovation has peaked, and we don't see any other projects coming to the forefront anytime soon. I can't remember the last time I had a unique algorithm presented to me. And so with that being said, we believe the winners have already been selected, and we're going to ride that. So anyway, guys, Just wanted to say that innovation continues to slow, and that is really something that we're going to keep going. Sorry, I keep getting text here. Okay, I'm going to take this phone call, and we're going to get out of here. But just keep in mind what I said, guys. Consolidation, diversification, stomaching electricity cost, the corporate structure you have, the team that you build. That is what's going to get you through the other fucking side. Nothing else. I don't know how many times I had to repeat the same thing. But that's what it is. And again, with equities, the reason I don't publish here is because people hear more into the actual mining rather than the corporate analysis of other publicly traded firms. Again, heavily skewed towards income over capital gains, because obviously the bond market is now competing with the stock market. So, with that being said, again, everyone here should have my phone number. Again, I'm not a hard man to find, and I'm always waiting. So, on that note, I will go out for a cigarette here, and we'll talk to you guys later.